The South African Democratic Teachers Union is convening its 9th National Congress in Johannesburg this morning. It meets at least once in 5 years to elect new leadership and adopt policies by means of resolutions. President Cyril Ramaphosa, Minister of Basic Education Angie Motshekga, and leaders from the Tripartite Alliance will address the Congress.
Congress and all delegates and our guests, it is my honor and the privilege on behalf of our National Executive Committee of Sadtu to present to you the President of the African National Congress and the President of the Republic of South Africa. Over to you. Thank you so much, Comrade Matamela, His Excellency the President of South Africa. Over to you, sir.
Forward with Sadtu, forward. Forward with COSATU, forward. Forward with SACP, forward. Forward with SANCO, forward. Amandla. Forward with the African National Congress, forward. It is an honor and a real privilege to be here with you today. I'd like to take this moment and this opportunity to thank you at the outset as the educators of our nation, the people who, in more ways than one, that the whole nation relies on to mold and shape our future generation. We thank you for the work that you do, and even as the General Secretary says, yes, you do not get remunerated as you wish, but nonetheless, I stand here to say thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you very much. Your Congress is taking place at a time when our country is facing a number of challenges at a number of levels. The socio-economic challenges that our country is facing that have a negative impact on employment in our country, that have a negative impact on the livelihoods of our people, the widespread challenges that we have recently experienced in relation to violence, particularly violence as perpetrated against women and children, also violence perpetrated against our own people as well as foreign nationals. These are matters that are hanging over our nation like a dark cloud. The other important priority which we identified was that education, skills, and health are the key issues that need to be addressed. Building a capable and ethical and developmental state is one of the key priorities that we need to focus on, which as a membership you play a key role in. And we also focus on one other important goal, which is within your realm of activity, that our schools should have better educational outcomes, and every 10-year-old should be able to read with meaning. Right now, many 10-year-olds don't read for meaning or with meaning, and they should be able to read. As they read and pick up a book, they must be able to understand and be able to read for meaning. Lastly, one of the key goals is to bring an end to half, at the very least, violent crime. It is generally agreed that we've got to address some of the drivers of high economic growth. And one of those drivers is our education. We've got to make sure that we have an education system, but we also ensure that there is access to quality education, because this is fundamental for the growth and the long-term success of our country. Educators such as yourself have the tremendously important task of shaping the minds of impressionable young people and also preparing them to make positive contributions to the world. So if you never thought that your role was important, wherever you are, in whatever school you are, I stand here to tell you that your role of paying attention to that learner in your class is so important that when you look at it in the broader scheme of things, you are actually an economic player. You are a key economic player because you are there to ensure that this young person, this learner's mind is stimulated, their mind is opened up so that they become a capable participant in the economy of our country. As Isitwala Andresi Aparangwe, Comrade Nelson Mandela said, education is the most important weapon which you can use to change the world. And this is the most important weapon that we can all use to change our country. And education is therefore the real engine that we should utilize. Accepting the transformative power of education, we all need to pledge here to commit ourselves to ensuring that the children and the young people of South Africa receive the best education possible. And you are the people who are best placed to deliver that education. Having recognized that early childhood development is a critical phase of a person's development and acknowledging the importance of receiving fundamental support for literacy and numeracy, government, as we all know, has transferred the responsibility for ECD to the Department of Basic Education, precisely where you operate. We've moved it from social development, we've now moved it to the engine room of our country, education. Now, it was very interesting to me to observe during the election campaign, because when we articulated the decision that had been taken by the African National Congress to move education from social welfare to basic education, ordinary parents, ordinary people in the deep rural areas of our country, in the townships, applauded the most when we said we are moving ECD from social development to basic education. They did so because they realized the importance of getting ECDs into basic education. So, comrades, ordinary people out there, now await the capabilities, the energy, the efficiencies that you have. So we've also announced as government a second compulsory year of early childhood or early learning before school will also be inaugurated. This means that we are investing more in children's formative years to ensure better literacy and numeracy outcomes in later years. So SADTU must become more active in the ECD field and work with government to develop programs that will ensure all children have access to quality learning from a young age. The Department of Basic Education, of course working together with SADTU, is now beginning this integration process as we started to reform government. Now this is underway. Now I would like to say that SADTU must be in the forefront. You must be coming with your intellectual prowess to actually work with the designs so that when we do fully integrate ECD into basic education, it is done in a way that you, as the teachers of our country, are going to work much more effectively with. Comrades, we all know that education can open the door to a better quality of life and future prosperity for years to come. In pursuit of creating a better life for all future generations, I announced that one of our goals over the next 10 years, yes, will be exactly what I said, that we want our children to be able to read effectively. This goal is being taken forward by many initiatives, such as the Department of Basic Education's Primary School Reading Improvement Program, which brings together a range of support interventions to improve the quality of teaching, of home language literacy, as well as English as a first additional language. This program will expand the assessment tools for teachers to ensure that they can offer support tailored according to the needs of the individual learners. Comrade Angie Motshekga, Minister, has announced that government will adopt a national reading plan for primary schools, and we urge comrades in Sadtu to be involved at every stage of developing this plan. Our world is also changing. We know that. The fourth industrial revolution is upon us, and in many ways it is changing every aspect of our lives. South African children must be prepared for these technological advances. We have already begun ourselves to structure a number of things that need to address this challenge. The school curricula is being structured in a manner that takes into account that many of today's jobs will either not exist or not exist in their current form in the next 2 decades. We have begun to teach our learners in a manner that prepares them for the changing world of work. Sadtu has an important role to play in an increasingly digitized world. Not only must you, comrades, prepare yourselves for new technologies and new subjects, but you must also prepare our young people for this new world that's going to be reshaped by globalization, by the fourth industrial revolution, as well as by climate change. We have introduced, as you well know, technical occupational training in our curriculum, in addition to academic and technical vocational training as well. Youth unemployment is one of the most significant challenges that our country faces, and we have announced a range of initiatives. One of these initiatives is a program that is offered by some of our TVET colleges, whereby, in collaboration with industries in the area, these colleges offer courses that develop the skills required by those industries. And this becomes an industry-focused type of learning. And this gives graduates of these colleges a greater chance of finding jobs upon attaining their qualifications. We need to massify such initiatives, and I am extremely encouraged by the plan to establish national schools of specialization or focus schools on an incremental basis throughout the country in the medium to long-term basis to offer new and other skilled-based subjects, which include, amongst others, things like aviation, maritime studies, engineering, hospitality and tourism, arts and culture, as well as mathematics and science. And this was announced by the Minister of Basic Education in July of this year. Now, these specialized or focused schools will largely align with the special economic zones that we are already establishing throughout the country, and they will respond to the skill needs of those special economic zones. Now, educators, comrades, are aware that too large a cohort of learners drop out of school before completing matric. And I have seen this as I go around on door-to-door campaigns, visiting households, and there are times, and I've described this on a number of occasions, there are times when you go into a household and you meet family members in a household, the parents and the young people, and you ask what the young people are doing. And some of them will say things like, "No, I dropped out of school, I stopped at grade 9. And when you ask, why did you drop out? No, the teacher did not like me. That's true, some of those things are told to us. Teacher unas anrati. Principala unas anrati anshauta na kwe kaufela. Those are some of the reasons that you're given. And of course, some of the reasons is that, there was a pregnancy and the young woman, the young girl dropped out of school. Now, Sadtu yourself, you estimate that the dropout rate is possibly more than 40%. And I think the dropout rate is possibly about 45%. And I do my estimation by looking at, as you do, when the school year starts, there are almost 1 million young children who start school, who get very excited as they start school. You expect that by year 12, that million will be qualifying, will be writing matric. It often is not the case. Possibly about 550 only write. And we have to ask ourselves, where have these 400,000 or 450,000 gone to? This is a question that we need to occupy ourselves with. As a government, as Sadtu, and all of us need to ask ourselves, where are they? These dropouts are attributed to a whole number of socioeconomic factors, such as child-headed households and the need for young people to work and support their families, and many others. But working together with trade unions, we've developed the National Integrated Assessment Framework so that we are able to look more closely at this. This system will be able to find solutions for us. We have spoken extensively about the scourge of gender-based violence in our communities. A sad reality is that such heinous crimes also occur in schools and in other places of learning. Educators are often the best place to notice where learners are victims or are at risk, and we urge you to speak out. This culture of silence empowers and enables perpetrators. It is the teachers, yourselves, who are able to see that a child is either under stress, is being abused in one way or another. At the same time, we need a shift in society's mindset to a culture that rejects this concept of patriarchy and recognizes how gender stereotypes harm both boys and girls. Teachers who have consistent contact with young people are vital to changing mindsets and empowering young people to deal with harmful social relations. However, too many teachers are overburdened or are under-resourced themselves. There is a duty, yes, on government to ensure that teachers are equipped and supported to play this role in our society. Now, we are going to do everything we can to improve teaching conditions and school safety through increasing school infrastructure, ensuring that schools have proper fencing, burglar alarms, functioning relationships with the local police and other services. This is what we would like to make available to you to improve your conditions of employment. Now, Minister Motshekga will further give details on how we will empower teachers and learners through the Department of Basic Education's awareness, prevention, and support programs on, for instance, issues such as gender-based violence, sexual abuse, bullying, and other forms of violence and intimidation. The measures that we announced in Parliament are also going to take effect in the various schools where you operate. Now, because we are aiming to improve the psychosocial support programs that are available to educators and learners in our school system. There are too many reports, though, of sexual relations between educators and learners. And you know this. This abhorrent behavior must be decisively addressed, and it must be stopped. As educators, your job is that of a parent to the children who come to your schools. You are not supposed to be the lovers of your children who come to the schools. Now, the reports, and we may want to deny this, as often happens, we may want to deny that this does not take place. But Bahayetu, Raiti, we know that it is happening. We know that this sexual relations between educators and learners do happen. And we say Sadtu must stand firm and say we will not allow educators to have sexual relations with learners. And it is Sadtu that must be in the forefront, because as teachers, you are the parents of these children. A o ratane le ngwana wa gago ka ntho e jwalo. A wa tshwanela gore o jole le ngwana wa gago. Because you are parents, we expect that you will be way above these types of things. So I'm addressing it directly with you and saying that this abhorrent behavior must be addressed and it must be brought to an end. But at the same time, the law must be allowed to take its course. More worrying is the instances where teachers sexually assault learners. As with all cases of sexual assault, these crimes must be fully prosecuted and the perpetrators must be subjected to the full extent of the law. Government commits to continue supporting these most crucial public servants through improving the quality of teaching, improving the conditions under which they work. We must all work harder to recruit more young people to the teaching profession. Attaining our goals means that we must have quality teachers in specific subjects, in all phases and in all geographic areas of our country. Government provides support through the Funza Lushaka bursary program, as you know, and we are looking into ways in which this program can be expanded and be more streamlined. One important area that we must pay deliberate attention to is ensuring that teachers are not over-concentrated in affluent or urban areas to the neglect of disadvantaged rural areas. All schools in our areas must have adequate number of well-qualified teachers. Teacher unions must make sure that they work with government to make sure that this does indeed happen. We are also working on equipping teachers with the required skills to teach new technologies, foundational learning, and a whole range of new ways of learning. Government cannot do this by ourselves, and we call on comrades in organized labor to support these endeavors. And I've always found that when Sadtu and the Department of Basic Education sit down to discuss issues, to discuss how to improve education in our country, it works extremely well. The increased focus on new technologies and foundational learning will not detract from our drive to improve skills in all the other teaching disciplines. There must be skilled educators in all subjects, especially if we are going to succeed with our efforts to, for instance, increase access to mother tongue learning and making history a compulsory subject. Teachers are fundamental to our ongoing prosperity as a nation. And if you are not there to guide young people and equip them to become productive and responsible members of society, we will never be able to win and to succeed. To be in charge of shaping young minds is an enormous responsibility, and I urge all educators to perform their duties with care and dedication, because you've gotten into this profession because you care. You got into this profession because you want to serve the people of our country. And we are saying to you, as we honor you for having taken these gigantic steps to want to serve our nation, we say, do it with care and dedication. We need to pay closer attention to how we hold all civil servants to account, and this is especially important when it comes to educators. As you are aware, the future success of our nation really depends on how we hold up the high standards. It is clear that we need a more comprehensive measurement to assess educators and identify where improvement is required. And the issue of self-assessment also is an important one, where we are able to assess ourselves and see where we are lacking and see how we can best improve. One of our more urgent challenges set out in our 7 priorities is to ensure that we consolidate the social wage through providing reliable basic services. Now, we have inaugurated what we call the district model, the district development model. And this district development model looks at everything that is meant to improve the lives of our people at a district level. Yes, it looks at service delivery, it looks at the issues of crime, it looks at the issues of education as well. We launched the first one in OR Tambo district. And one of the things that we focused on is how many schools do we have in OR Tambo? And how are those schools functioning? As we drill deeper down at that district level, we will also be focusing on our schools, the functionality of our schools, the infrastructure situation of our schools, and the delivery of education in the districts. And of course, as you well know, one of our 7 priorities focuses on a better Africa and a better world. As I said at the beginning, in order to build the South Africa that we want, we are called upon to make a contribution. Now, I would like Sadtu, as you carry on with your own deliberations, prominent in your mind must be, what contribution can Sadtu make? What is it that Sadtu can contribute to make sure that we build the South Africa that we want? What is it that we can all collectively do, working together in our various structures to ensure that indeed the objectives of our revolution are achieved? You are well placed as Sadtu that has always been revolutionary in its approach on many issues, a Sadtu which has been able to captivate the hearts and the minds of educators through the length and the breadth of our country, a Sadtu which is strong, a Sadtu which is purposeful in everything that it does. You are also interested in advancing the interests of your members. You are interested, yes, in the wages, in the salaries that you are paid. You are also interested in ensuring that ECD teachers no longer earn 5,000 Rand or 7,000 Rand. And I agree with you and I support you in that regard, because, as they say, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Now we must make sure that, yes, we look at all that as we strengthen our education system. I would like to see a process in which Sadtu and government work together as we address not only the salaries of the ECD educators, but also as we address your various other conditions. You play a most important role in the life of our country, in the life of our government, and we see you as partners, linked together, yes, as employer and employee, but at the same time linked together in this revolutionary process where, as part of our alliance, we work with you to attain the objectives that we have set out for ourselves. So I'd like to see us working together where there are issues that need to be addressed. We sit down, we address those issues. I want to extract a promise from this Congress that, yes, as the leading civil servants of our nation, you are going to pledge that you will serve the nation of South Africa with diligence, with commitment, and you are going to put our children first so that our children can be so well educated to play a critical role in the economy of our country. Do I have your support with regard to that, members of Sadtu? Thank you very much. Forward with Sadtu, forward. Forward with Sadtu, forward. Amandla. Thank you very much.
I'm now going to call the General Secretary and the President to show our appreciation to the President.
There's another one, so that you look like a trade union.
Thank you so much. Wow, this is real level.
Yeah.
Thank you.